So here's the privacy policy. This is just an excerpt from one of our privacy policies that we would use if we were helping you. But now, see right here where it says the word company. If we were doing it for you, it would be the name of your company. This would be actually tailored specifically for your company. But every employer contractor performing work for this company needs to comply with the following policies and procedures. File cabinets, desk drawers, overhead cabinets, any other storage space containing documents with sensitive information need to be locked when not in use. Now, one of the things that the FTC looks for is it's called a two-lock principle. Two-lock principle. Think about this. If your front door of your office locks and your office door locks and you have personal information, that's considered two locks. Front door, your office door. Now, if you have a front door lock but your office door doesn't lock, then the file cabinets that you keep your files in would need to be able to be locked up when not in use. So that's what we just kind of go by as a two-lock principle. Is what the FTC would look for. Okay. Storage rooms containing documents with sensitive information and record retention areas need to be locked at the end of each workday. Desks, workstations, work areas, printers, fax machines, that type of area need to be cleared of all sensitive information when not in use. Now think about it, folks. We just asked people, and part of our training is if you walk by a fax machine and there's personal information from someone, a client, either an employee or something like that, simply find out where it needs to go, deliver it to them, and don't leave it laying on a fax machine because that could fall into the wrong hands. Okay. Whiteboards, dry erase boards. If you guys were happen to do some training or something in a room, and you were using a whiteboard, a dry erase board that had personal information, non-public information of any kind, needs to be erased, removed, or shredded when not in use. The other thing is documents contain, I'm sure most of you guys already have a shredding program. One of the things we recommend is the cross-cut shredder as opposed to just the straight shredder because, trust me, there are people out there that are diligent that will, if it's just a straight shredder, will take the time to put those documents back together and have a potential identity theft breach. If it's a cross-cut, it's much more difficult to put back together. Okay, so once you're done, you want to make sure that you have some sort of a confidentiality form. We have one that performs has a much more stuff in it than this right here. This is just an example of stuff here. So ours will be much more in depth. But you want to make sure that every employee signs it, has a witness, and dates the date of the training. Okay. So now we've talked about your company and the compliance laws that are out there, but now we're going to talk about vendors. And the scary thing and sad thing, both of those, is that now not only it's not enough that you have to implement this red flags rule policy into your company. Now you will be held accountable and responsible for people that you're doing business with as well, and your vendors. I'll give you an example. About 2 months ago, I was meeting with a company in Tampa here over on 50th Street, and here's what happened. They had office supplies, toilet papers, pens, I mean, all this, just a basic office supplies for this company. So they stroked a check and mailed it off to the vendor, and here's what happened. The person on the other end got a hold of that check, had company name, address, bank account, routing number. That company zapped $25,000 out of that company's bank account before they knew what happened. Now, of course, they got their money back over a period of time, but think about it, folks. On a smaller scale, you know, $25,000 zapped out of your business account may mean the difference of making payroll this week. Out of the larger companies, wouldn't be such a big deal, but it would still be just a harassment and a pain to have to deal with that type of thing. So as far as the vendors are concerned, there are people, companies that are actually going to the extent of having customers and clients revise the contracts that they deal with, stating that these vendors need to have a provision specifying that they must have a written red flags policy in place. And it's certainly within your rights to request and simply say, have you guys done your training? Have you got your policy in place? Could you fax me a copy to stick it in my book? There are some companies out there that simply state, because this is such a serious matter, that they sever some ties with some relationships because of the fact that some companies are not willing to comply with this. And here's what can happen. If they get a hold of personal information, and a lot of people too, think about this, that use payroll companies. Here's a scenario. If a law enforcement officer were to call you and say that one of your employees' information was stolen, a victim of identity theft, you start doing research and find out that it's the payroll company that lost the information. Well, you think, wow, the burden's off of me because the payroll company. Well, the sad thing is the Federal Trade Commission would hold you responsible because you're the one who gave that information to the payroll company to allow that information to be stolen. Now, of course, the payroll company would have some liability as well, but you would still have liability under this type of thing as a vendor. So you just want to make sure that the people you're doing business with are complying with the laws as well. And if you take it to the serious note that it really needs to be, you may end up having to sever some ties with some businesses who are not compliant. Okay. So I don't know if this short video clip is actually going to play and give volume for you guys. At any rate, basically this video is just simply, this is a dumpster out in the back of an income tax business that what they did was they actually dumped people's returns all the way from W-2s down to tax returns with Social Security numbers exposed. Just a scary, scary thing. There's couple of things in here for this video. If anybody's interested in it, I can send you the video, and you can let Shauna know if you want to see the video in its entirety. There's 4 or 5 clips in here of the Federal Aviation Administration lost a bunch of people's information, and it's just a crazy, crazy thing. So moving forward here, I want to make sure I stay on track and on time. I think I'm doing good. Action steps. Here's some action steps for your company. Take stock. Know exactly what personal information you have in your files and on your computers. Do a search. Scale down. Here's the thing. If you find a bunch of information that you say, well, our company's never going to need again, and you have it on hard copy, a lot of people are doing this. They back it up. They'll take the hard copies and scan it on, put it in a computer disk, put the computer disk in a safe, lock it up, and only keep the stuff out that's pertinent, that's necessary for your business to operate. As far as shredding, make sure you shred the rest of the information that you don't need once you're done with it. Okay. Create that privacy policy. Make sure that we have everybody sign, all the employees sign that confidentiality form. Okay. Train all the employees on their expectations and liabilities of the company, as well as what they're responsible for as employees. Okay. Now the last area we're going to talk about here, real quick, is offering employees a personal identity theft prevention program. Now this is totally optional. Here's the thing: while the FACTA law does not state anything about you have to do anything to protect an employee's identity. Okay, it doesn't say you have to do that, but what it does say is that if you possess personal, non-public information and it's lost under the wrong set of circumstances, then you are 100% responsible for their losses. Now remember the Federal Trade Commission statistic I gave you a little bit earlier was that 90% of all identity theft occurs in the workplace, involving payroll records and employment records. So as an employer, as a company, employees are your biggest liability. Okay. So here's what happens for medical insurance. Let's just go use that for an example. If you offer all of your employees medical insurance and they don't take the medical insurance, they're required to sign an opt-out form that states that you've offered medical insurance, they decline the coverage, and therefore 6 months down the road they can't come back and make a claim against your medical insurance because they opted out of the benefit. Okay, so by simply offering your employees an identity theft protection program of some kind, if they take, as an employer, you don't care whether they take it or not. The thing is what we're talking about here today is mitigating your liabilities and exposure out there in the marketplace by protecting everything that you guys are doing to build your companies. So by offering them, if they take it, great. If they don't, they have an opt-out form, and you would be provided with that opt-out form that states, here's the thing. You have an employee, let's just use the name of Joe. Joe's identity is stolen. It's linked back to your company, and the FTC steps in and says, now, whatever your name is, what steps have you taken to protect Joe's identity? Then you would be able to provide a document that states, well, back on such and such a date, we offered them an identity theft protection policy. They declined it. Here's their opt-out. At that point, you have done everything that you could possibly do to protect Joe's identity. The FTC would say, great job on your part, and would look at Joe and say, Joe, I'm so sorry, but you're responsible for restoring your own identity. They offered this to you. You declined it. Therefore, it's not on them. Okay?